All right. Welcome everyone to the Sun Valley Nominations and Elections Committee meeting for June. We are meeting via Zoom. All of the current members are here. So thank you all for taking time to join us. Did everybody get the agenda? I think I sent the agenda. Does everybody have the agenda on hand? Because we're at this point we would approve it.
But thank you for sending it, because for some reason I couldn't locate it.
Not
The agenda, while you're talking about well, I'll wait to where I could put my comment in, but yeah, I have the copy of the agenda.
Okay.
From an email.
At this point we would approve the agenda. Is there any update or any changes or any last minute additions?
I may be moving to amend the agenda pending input from the chair and the committee. In addition to approving the manual, in working on the manual, Linda Bradley detected a conflict in the bylaws. Now, that affects what we do in the manual, but she thought that the entity might want to make a recommendation to the board for a slight amendment to the bylaws so that we don't have that conflict. Now, are people comfortable discussing and maybe having a motion as part of review and approve the manual, or do we need a second, maybe sub item called bylaws?
It's all part of it. Reviewing it, we can discuss that, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with that. I thought that conflict would come up in the discussion, Gail.
Okay, that's fine. I didn't know called out as a separate item.
It was a good catch, though. Thank you for that. So we'll get to that.
We'll approve the agenda.
Okay, I'll second that.
Okay. Anybody at this point would disagree with that? Then I think we've approved it by acclamation. Member comments. I believe that Morgan said we don't have any members with us tonight. Is that still the case, Morgan?
Yeah, this just shows.
So yeah, there's no one here.
Okay. So we will continue
approving minutes.
Oh, thank you, Michael. Could we approve the May 20th, 2024 minutes?
So moved.
I have a question regarding minutes, agenda, and all that.
Yes.
On the Sun Valley website, one, you cannot access or print tonight's agenda from that page.
Okay.
I got it from an email, and also the minutes are missing from 429 and 520, and the video is missing from 520 for some reason, and you can't view any of that information.
Can you see it on YouTube?
I went on the Sun Valley website, nomination and election committee site to view them, and they're not there, or they're not there that you can click on them.
Okay. That was my perception also when I went to committee meeting minutes, that they weren't alive. They were there, but they were black. You couldn't open them.
Oh, maybe I haven't posted them yet.
Okay, because that's the only way I know how to get them. If there's another way to get them, I don't know
how.
And
that's how you get the minutes and the agenda, but you can always get the video on YouTube.
Well, I don't know that, and a lot of homeowners may not know that, and they go to the Sun Valley website, and they should be on the Sun Valley website.
Yeah.
Well,
in my opinion, period.
We will check and update them tomorrow.
Yes. Great. So that's good catch. Thanks for letting us know, Michael. I appreciate it's good that somebody reached out to you and asked the question. So appreciate that.
Okay.
So ongoing business, open committee position. There was a couple of people that expressed an interest in our open seat. A neighbor up here in North Point expressed an interest, but I think maybe he's pulled back because I haven't heard anything from him additionally. And Cheryl Taylor at one point was interested, but her schedule is just really busy right now. So she's decided it's not a good time for her. We still have an open seat. I think it'd be great if we could continue to let the community know that that seat's open. It would be wonderful to have somebody join us because things are going to start getting pretty busy here. If anybody has any thoughts and would like to specifically reach out to anybody, you know, neighbor in particular, that would be fine.
Rob,
Yes, sir.
what you're saying is right now there is one volunteer seat open. Okay.
That's correct. That seat would be, if somebody was interested in it, they could be seated until the AGM, or they could run for it.
Yeah, okay.
So I have a comment quickly. I also did a little bit of, you know, recruiting, but the individual I reached out to is already working on some other committees, and that person thought they were full up.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering, Rob, I know we probably had a deadline that's come and gone for the views, but you want to put like a little, you know, a quote unquote help wanted. The reason is, as we get close to the AGM, there will be a lot to be done, you know, collecting those ballots, making sure that people are available at the times that, you know, that we can all work together. There will be a lot to be done. And so if there is someone, you know, if we could use the views. Now, is the July deadline come and gone? Because I know you've done it.
Well, yeah, the July deadline was today, close of business today, but I could throw a paragraph together and send it over to Bill and say, oh, by the way, this didn't get added, and see if he has the bandwidth to do that.
He might be able to do it, Rob, because my perception every time I look at the views is there's a fair amount of fluff and filler and, you know, certain things that don't have to be in really large type or in large type, because it clearly, to my view, the editor is filling up space. So I would think like a little help wanted ad or volunteer needed, or
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would almost put it like a little ad, and the ad, I mean, the ad artwork deadline isn't yet. It's usually closer to the end of the month. So they
Mhm.
certainly haven't finalized it yet. So if we could put it in just like a little square with, you know, bigger numbers and an e-committee and email or something, something
could
attention grabbing.
I could probably send it to him as a PowerPoint slide with a little clip art help wanted, and
I
pretty
think
straightforward.
great,
You know?
so many people, I think, really do want to serve the community, but you know, there are different ways of reaching out. So we've got the views. Why not try that one?
Yeah, no, that's
And
a great idea.
We could do e-blast too, and on the Facebook page, that usually helps.
On the Sun Valley Facebook page,
Mm-hmm.
on the other Facebook pages.
The Sun and Valley, well, then we can share it, but if it goes out on e-blast, it usually comes onto the Sun and Valley Facebook page as announcements as well. I
Mhm.
see Michael has his hand up.
And then we could pick it up and just send it out. I just feel that, you know, there's always a lot of discussion about everything in the valley, and people love where they live. There's no doubt about it, even if we don't always agree on some of the policies and things. So I think that we could probably at least make people aware that we could use help, because it gets very intense in September and October.
It does.
And plus, we're going to have the national election, which is going to be driving everyone crazy.
Yeah.
As what we did last year, I'm sure if we don't get somebody, I'm sure the four of us can handle it. So we don't, I mean, nobody has to feel panicked. I'm sure we can handle it. And we have staff that we used last year when things, I know Joanne helped me one day when we did gathered the envelopes and that, but we could do that. I have a question.
Yes.
for 2025 NNE, how many board seats are actually going to be open for that? You know, it doesn't matter who's running again, but there are certain number that are gonna, I think it's 3, isn't it?
I think it's
Four.
4,
It's 4.
Pardon?
4.
4, okay.
I noted
And-
that, I noted that in the last month. I don't know if you guys had a chance to see the Views article from the last month, but it noted how many board, Annie, and ACC positions were gonna be
I
open.
did read that somewhere and I didn't write it down. I know I've saved all that stuff, so I know that I just wanted to get an idea in my head
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
And so there's
it's
four board seats will be up for election in NNE 2025.
That's right.
And my seat on NNE is always open. I was elected once for 2 years. I have completed that by 2 years. So I'm really not an elected person, but our bylaws say I can stay as long as I want until someone, you know, is elected, and an elected person can push me out of my seat.
Right.
We don't
And
want
so-
that. I mean,
Pardon
yes,
me?
yeah, but you are so helpful, Michael.
It's like with Michael, 4 more years, Michael.
In that context, I may not stay with NNE in 2020 after the 2025 starts, January.
Okay.
So we want to make sure, I wanted to make sure that, you know, with the role, how our roles are only a 2-year elected term, but we can stay. Where are we at on that on NNE right now? Rob, you're the only, you have
I
One
have
more year.
one
first
more
year.
year.
You have 1 more year.
And
Karen's a
completing-
volunteer. I'm a volunteer, and Gail,
Completing year 2.
you'll be 2 years because you were on last year and this year. So you're actually open next year on 2025.
Right, except that, yeah, we'll see. I mean,
Well, just by the way they're written, that seat is open to a vote. So there's going to be 3 open seats on NNE on the ballot.
Yes.
Okay.
Or 4. Because we have one missing,
Yeah,
one
4.
empty right now.
4, correct.
Yes.
4. Okay. And then ACC, I have no idea where they're at, but I would like to know.
Um, I
I know I only know of one person that was elected to it, and I think everybody else is all a volunteer.
Joe Jean was elected, and I think Daniel Rodriguez.
Daniel.
Okay, so that's 2.
Mhm. But it's a big committee, right? They have
Is it 7 or 9?
a large number.
think it's 7.
7.
So there might be 5 open on it.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see.
Well, we can figure that out. I just
But-
wanted to get,
But I think I think NNE, ACC, and the board bylaws are all stated differently, but from what I remember, what ACC says is that if you volunteer if you are appointed to fill someone's spot that resigns, you finish out their term. So there might not be all 5, depending on how they were appointed.
okay. I'll have to look into that. All right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
going off memory, so I don't remember, but
Yeah.
Yeah, and I went to my phone trying to get the June article, because it has the ACC number in there, and my phone's acting really slow, so.
All right.
But
I'll pull it up.
it's in the.
I'll
it's
get
in
it and
the
make sure, I'll
June.
make sure I will, in my minutes for this, I will add this to the minutes and have the correct number.
Okay,
Nice article, Rob. I really liked it. It was fun seeing it on page 1.
yeah, it was kind of cool.
It
Yeah,
was great. I thought it was very good.
yeah, this month this month it was a little shorter, talking about the importance of voting, and then next month is going to be talking about more kind of a summary of the of filling out the ballot, getting it in time, and there'll be a paragraph about the people who live outside of the country, instructions for them.
Okay.
So, yeah, All right. Gail, can you kind of help us with the, with reviewing and approving our 2024 manual? There was a lot of substantive, hopefully I'm saying the right word. Substantive information that was added to the manual based on our attorney's responses. That was put in. That substantive material was approved by the oh boy, on the agenda where help me out there. I'm trying to
Consent
remember.
agenda.
Thank you so much, Michael. By consent agenda. And then also there were some things where we needed Gail's strong editorial skills, some pagination. Oh boy, I think I'm ruining these words. Pagination and style sheets, different things. And so we want to get this work complete so we have a document that is complete and meets a high degree of editor standards. Am I saying that pretty well, Gail?
You're doing a great job.
Bob, before you start, can you, I missed some of what you said at the first about the board. Basically, the board approved by consent agenda, adding the letter from the lawyer. You're muted, Rob.
I'm asking for a drink of water from my wife, sorry.
Guys, to be honest, when we went through all of that last year, I was keenly aware of every board meeting date, every, minutes into the meeting, etc. But essentially there was Rich Davis weighed in with some new clarification, and that was approved in a consent agenda, but it was not approved in a call out where people could follow it clearly. It was always a bit of a muddle, really. But essentially in the NNE manual that I'm asking the board to reapprove, because we did approve this manual last May, a year ago May, and then there were difficulties getting it to the board. I believe that the board president's father was very ill. Meetings were canceled without much notice in order to accommodate, family issues and so forth. So what I would say, I don't think we need to revisit the adding of the attorney stuff. That's already been approved by our committee. It was recommendation from Rich Davis. It was a recommendation from the then executive committee to have it. So that follows. The only thing that the new or the updated manual adds that wasn't in the 2023 manual is making clear that nominations and elections will be the committee doing the candidate forums. The earlier version still referenced communications committee. As we know, there is no communications committee. And rather than have to figure out, does it default to the board and etc., this manual thus calls out that NNE will do it. And I think other people have made the point. I think I certainly have made the point or tried to. I think we have to have a certain amount of daylight between the board and NNE. That is, our actions. Yes, the board is the ultimate authority for everything that happens in the valley. We know that. But then in terms of our actual operations, certain board members, any board member may have a very vested interest in the outcome. And that's why you want to have an NNE committee. I have to get some water myself, Rob. I should second. That, has some independence in the board. We wouldn't want the board running the elected. Now, excuse me, I'm going to get some water.
Yeah, no, I think we all understand the daylight between the committee and the board, and I'm not seeing anything that makes me concerned about that this year. I guess I feel like last year was last year. This isn't this year. But I was hoping was that we could formally approve these
Well,
these editorial changes in terms of the style sheet and whatnot. And then get that before the board this week. And
what
then we
about,
close.
before we vote on it or anything, what about the letter from Linda that Gail referenced? I have a copy of it here on my screen. And Linda came up with a few things here. And were they, oops, I'm on the wrong thing here. Were they addressed in this final approval? She's got a list of things here. I could show this on here, I suppose, if I.
Well, yes, you could show it, Michael, but basically I worked with Linda on the one that we're now looking at. And I'm
Okay.
sure that I incorporated all of her suggestions, which were always factual, nothing
Yes. Oh, yes.
deep. And so in a sense, I'm sorry that Linda isn't available in the audience or whatever, but she is now comfortable with the final entity manual. Although we
So-
do have issue I want to talk about the bylaws when we're ready to do that.
Okay, because she had these 1, 2, 3, 4 points. So those got covered.
Yes.
Okay.
I just have one thing to say before we move on to this, and I'm not suggesting that we change it, but we are talking about how we incorporated the attorney's opinion into this, and that was approved last year. And I just want it stated again that in section 4.1.12, where it's talking about candidates that withdraw, his opinion, his suggestion was the date that the ballots are mailed, and we put printed based on last year's executive committee, what they wanted in there. So I just think it's worth noting that that is not exactly what he suggested. I think he did say it is a business decision. It's not that there's maybe no more or less legal ramifications otherwise, but if we're going to say we incorporated the attorney's opinions, I think it's worth it to call out that there is this one variance to his opinion, and that was based on what last year's executive committee wanted in here.
Sure. Yeah. That's a good point, Karen. We could, are you wanting me to bring that up on Thursday?
I think it's worth a note. I think it always is when, rather than just kind of covering it all as like, this was all the attorney's opinion, is just saying like, hey, let's just call out that this one section was it. If they want to discuss it further, they can. We already kind of acquiesced to this last year and decided to just let it go. It wasn't worth
Right.
the heartache of going through it. But if this board wants to, some of them are new, they might not have been aware of the discussions that were happening last year. I think it's worth calling it out, and they can decide whether or not that's worth revisiting or not.
I
Karen?
could do that.
Attorney want printed, or did the attorney recommend mailed?
He said mailed, they wanted printed.
What Eve wanted, I think, was the ability to capture any change in the actual candidates, to have a sufficient window to promulgate that information, so that we didn't have a repeat of someone appearing on the ballot who had indeed withdrawn, but we were somehow prevented from making a public announcement because some of the ballots might have gone out and even been returned, and then those people would feel that they.
And as I recall, he had concern that if somebody had voted already for that person that pulled their name, that
the subsequent voters would have more information than that voter had, and it could lead to a legal quagmire.
it was just, I like the word that Karen used. It would have just been heartache to,
Yeah.
I think I never had a problem that we stepped back, and I have no problem bringing that up on Thursday, that, oh, by the way, that we use printed rather than mailed as what our attorney
It
advised.
shouldn't be, I agree with Karen, it shouldn't be left ambiguous. Is that the word?
Yeah.
That it should be spelled out. It's either one or the other, not up to opinion that year, or then the next opinion the next year. That's the point of the manual, is so a new team can come in and they have a platform to work from, and they don't have to, it's not made out of silly putty that fluctuates. It's, it's got a fence around it, and this is the parameters that you work in. And then if the homeowners or somebody wants to, they can do bring it up to change this or that. So, but I think it should be that shouldn't be done on a consent agenda. It should be actually discussed and voted and answered. So if you could ask them that, I agree.
Yeah, I just wouldn't, if I'm approving something, believing that I'm approving the attorney's opinion, I would be bothered to later learn that some little thing, it may matter to someone or not, but that some portion was not the attorney's opinion. So if you're going forward with like, hey, we're going to do what the attorney says in this case, I guess I would want to go in eyes wide open, knowing whether or not I am approving exactly what the attorney suggested or not, and I'm okay with it, which we discussed this at length and we decided we were okay with as it was printed, but not all of the board members that will be voting on this necessarily had those conversations. And so I just think it's worth bringing it up. They might not care. They might think, oh, whatever, it's,
There's
potato, who cares,
Yeah, there's a number of new ones that weren't around last year.
Right.
So, yeah, no, that's a good point. And then in going through this process, Gail and Linda found a conflict between the bylaws. And I think we need to point that out. Perhaps the board, not perhaps, I think coming out of this, we will recommend that the board.
What is that?
Yeah, what's the conflict?
Well, I can see that.
Go
And
ahead,
I-
go ahead, Gail. Go ahead.
Basically, Article 3 of the bylaws, not of our manual, Article 3 of the bylaws, Section 3C conflicts with Article 3, Section 4B. Section 4B states that the term of office of each director, we're only talking about board candidates, shall be 3 years or until their respective successors have been elected by the association. However, a director who has replaced a director by appointment shall serve until the conclusion of the following AGM. And this is the part that's in conflict, and until a successor is elected. In the meantime, Section 3C states that no member shall be eligible for election to the board. And I sent all of this to you in an email on June 13th at the bottom there. For more than 2 consecutive terms, plus the unexpired portion of a term to which he or she was appointed, provided that it does not exceed 1 year. So you see that there could be a scenario in which, following 4B, someone would serve more than 7 years, right? You'd have 2 3-year terms and then the unexpired portion that did not exceed 1 year. Now, this would only be a problem if you have more openings on the board than you had candidates. I only remember 1 year, I was brand new to the Valley, where there were more openings than there were candidates. And this, I was so new to the Valley, this particular thing didn't come up. But Linda suggested that we maybe have a recommendation as a committee, because practice, in fact, it had always been my assumption that if you're appointed to the board and you're having such a great time, or, feel responsibility to the community, you just simply then throw your hat in the ring and run, right? You don't just get carried over because there were insufficient candidates. So I would recommend, my thought would be to make a motion that NNE recommends on Section 4B to eliminate and until a successor is elected. So a director by appointment shall serve until the conclusion of the following AGM period in their appointed role.
Is there a second?
Yeah.
Okay. Discussion, does anybody have any questions or Is that clear as mud?
You're
I think
basically
that
just asking the board to look at the entity manual and the bylaw statement and make a match.
it's two bylaws. There, it's not between the manual and the bylaws, right? It's between
It's
two
two
bylaws.
sections in the bylaws.
Yeah, in the bylaws.
Okay, all right.
They're in
Yeah.
conflict.
As long as I've lived here, which is almost 10 years, I believe that's how it has been done in practice for the board. And an E runs a
Yes.
little bit differently. ACC tends to run a little bit differently. I would feel comfortable with that suggestion because I think that is the way that it has been done in practice. And, you know, like every bylaw change, it would run through the attorney and make sure that he agrees with it. So I would be comfortable with that just because that was my understanding of how it worked anyway.
To be devil's advocate here,
Yeah.
wouldn't it, in changing anything in the bylaw, shouldn't that be done, the wording of that be done by a vote of the homeowners?
Oh, very much so.
We
That's what,
would.
yeah, in other words, that would be a ballot, it would be on the ballot. to do that.
Okay,
But I'd like
Yeah.
to point out one more time, both NNE and ACC have trouble filling their committees. We have 5, ACC has 7, 8. There are always fewer people running for these committees than we have opening.
Yeah.
That, in my experience, was possibly true of the board in 2014. I was brand new to the Valley. I think that we have more openings than we have candidates. So that had there been any appointed members, and I was so new, I had no idea, was, you know, getting oriented at all. Had there been any appointed members under this conflict, they possibly would have stayed on, but at any rate, ever since then, we've had sufficient people running for the board that it hasn't come up,
Well, yeah. And like with the current scenario, we have 2 appointed board members.
right?
right now.
Yeah, one of the people that may or may not run coming up is had been appointed and then ran, and now I think she's finishing a 3-year term, if I remember right.
Mm-hmm.
I could be
Yeah.
wrong, but yeah.
Yeah.
So this does come up, and I think we
Yeah.
want to make sure that the bylaw, I think we want to recommend that the bylaws, do not conflict with each other. Yeah, I'm just kind of saying the same stuff you guys are saying. And,
Well, we need to recommend adding a bylaw change to the AGM ballot to get this solved. Which wording
Yes.
do the homeowners want? I mean, which is and get the attorney opinion on, you know, how has it been done in the past? What's legal precedent and
yes.
make it match whichever
Yes.
way.
So I think I could report on this as part of the discussion for the 2024 revised manual on Thursday. Say, hey, by the way, Linda Bradley, Gio Cirillo found this issue. Based on how we vote tonight, we are recommending that you guys put forth a bylaw change to correct this conflict.
Mhm.
And that would be included on the ballot.
Yeah.
For the November.
Right,
Any-
and the recommendation is that the appointed members simply fill out that year. They don't get to carry over if they're insufficient. They don't get to carry over. How is it put?
No,
Successor is elected because a successor,
Yeah, I
And-
think what happens in practice, I'm trying to think of, because I appreciate that it is possible that we have too few candidates sometime, but I'm thinking that if we're in a too few candidate situation, most likely those people that were appointed would run anyway, or if they're not willing to run, they're probably not willing to stay either way, you know? So whereas it does seem enticing to like, hey, you could just stay on. I'm not
I don't
I don't know.
think
I'm trying to think, although running for the board is not fun. So I can see people avoiding it just for that.
I think in the past, if I remember right, all I've ever seen is the person finishes that year and the next AGM, either they run again or they don't.
Yeah,
And so they
Yeah.
don't just automatically stay like I did on N&E. Nobody
Yeah.
filled my spot, so I got to stay. Yeah, but
Well-
that's, I think, how the practice has been.
I still think we should be clear on it.
Yes,
Mhm.
Because life being what it is, isn't that always the case? Something comes up,
yeah,
you anticipate, and you go to your quote unquote Bible or your authority, and you discover that it itself is ambiguous.
yeah,
This would just put an end to that. You
yeah,
know, somebody was thinking they didn't want to run and they didn't want to do it, but then they would be intensely lobbied to stay on because of some bounce of power or perspective. You know,
Yeah.
to me, it's just, let's just keep, because I had always assumed that you got to only fill out the 1 year and then you did have to run again. That has been our practice since I've been here, like Karen, 10 years.
Yeah. One thing that it makes that you have to do, because I've seen this with ACC and even LRPC, even though those people aren't elected, is that, you know, when you're appointed to kind of fill a term, they have rolling terms, let's say.
Mm.
And if you lose track of whose spot you're filling,
Right,
and it kind of messes up the whole thing. So that's happened with ACC. But when Rob and I were on ACC years ago, we knew whose spot. This is why I believe this is how ACC does it, is because we knew whose spot we were filling when their term was up. And so from that perspective, as much as it doesn't leave it ambiguous, it also makes sure that we're keeping track of, you are filling so-and-so spot, you are filling this person's spot, which is not usually a problem unless there are a lot of resignations at a time, which they may have differing term limits. And so that's just something to know that will need to be kept track of, is this person is filling in for, you know, this resigned position, and this person is this resigned position.
right, right. Because when I applied for ACC, it was an open seat,
Mm-hmm.
was interviewed. The chair at the time made it clear that you are filling this seat until the AGM, and if you want to stay, you would run for that seat. And I was glad that he said that, you know, because
Oh, mine was different because I filled somebody's spot who had two years left on their term. So I
Oh.
stayed and then I
Oh.
ran. And then, yeah,
Oh, yeah,
I believe, I think, I mean, that was a long time ago, but that's what I recall is staying on past the AGM and then running in the subsequent one.
Well, I think this would clean up the bylaws. I think it's a good recommendation. Is there any other discussion or questions, concerns? Gail, unfortunately, my memory isn't serving me so well. Would you please read your motion?
very simple motion. I move that nominations and elections approve the updated is just an adjective here, it's not an official term. The updated 2024 Sudden Valley Nominations and Elections Manual. And, you know, and forward it to the board for their consideration and approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there anybody who disagrees with that? Okay, so that is approved by acclamation. And could I have I think I'd like to do it this way. Could I have a motion that we recommend to the board that they revise the bylaw in section 3, or excuse me, Article 3? Could I have a motion for that? And Gail, could you?
Sure. So I move that nominations and elections recommend to the board that a bylaws change be introduced on the 2024 AGM ballot, stating that Article 3, Section 4B be amended such that the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, the last 6 words are deleted. And until a successor is elected, are removed from that section 4B.
Is
Is
there
that,
a second?
I second that.
Is there anybody who disagrees with that recommendation? All right, I will take that forward as well as a recommendation. Thank you so much.
you're welcome.
Okay, the next item is, I sent you guys really late before the meeting. I want to talk a little bit about, the calendar that's coming up. And what I did was I scanned the finance budget calendar,
Mhm.
and also, page 2 of that has, the Unilect. There's an addendum where Unilect, what Unilect owes us and when Unilect owes us something or when we owe something back to Unilect. And I think I might be able to share this.
Hey, Rob, just FYI, on the
Yes,
budgeting timeline on the right of this, a lot
yes.
of those dates are off, like the line, they don't line up. I'm assuming that the
know.
ones in the calendar are correct, but if you're looking at the list on the right, it's hard to follow.
I know. I'm sorry. It was a scanning error.
Really? It
Well,
seems like a scan wouldn't do that.
yeah,
Seems
yeah.
like it's
it-
a wrap
it-
text problem.
well, I'll tell you what, there are third graders that know more about Excel than me.
Yeah, I think
So,
just um the cell needs to be widened a little bit because it's showing it like it's wrap text. So if that was just widened a little bit, then it wouldn't bring down the number to the next line and it throws it all off a little bit.
okay,
Oh, I
so I'm
see.
gonna talk, I'll talk with Joanne about that. I think this is Joanne's file.
Yeah.
And
I
guys,
see.
this is a real eye chart. I'm only bringing it up because the kind of plum colors are us.
Okay.
So on the 5th of July, that's when the candidate application period opens.
Mhm.
What we have so far is gotten some help from Michael and Gail. Michael, you took the candidate letter, the letter that goes from me to the candidate once we receive their application. We have that ready to go. Gail, thank you so much. You sent me the file, the application file,
Mhm.
and I was able to find a PDF, some PDF software that could take the PDF and convert it to Word. And I've done that. And I've
Mhm.
updated the dates on that.
Mhm.
So we are ready to go with that.
Great.
So we will print copies of that to have at the Welcome Center. I'm gonna meet with Morgan tomorrow about things that would be on the website.
Mhm.
Also, we're gonna look at the AGM tab on the website. Linda shared with me that some of those things need to be archived. Linda Bradley shared with me some of those things need to be archived from last year, and some need to be updated as they come in, like the budget and whatnot. So the 5th, I think we're ready to go on that. See the GM and any send final envelope and voter instructions layout to Unilect. I think what I'm gonna do is scroll. I'm gonna go scroll to the, come on, fingers. There we go. So this is part of the contract that was signed with Unilect.
Mhm.
This might be a little better in terms of those things. Let's
That's a
talk.
lot better.
Yeah, let's talk this. July 15th, we'll have our post office box. On the 30th, this was this idea of the idea of a larger colored envelope with the idea of what if we had some specific art, Sun and Valley AGM artwork. And the idea behind it is what Joanne was recommending, and I thought this was a good recommendation, that something that catches people's eye a little better and in her marketing background would garner a better response. And so I had reached out a little bit to the communities or anybody that might be interested in helping us with some graphic design, and didn't really hit anything on that. So Joanne reached out to Unilect, and I guess there's an artist with their printer that might be working on something. The main thing is we will definitely have a larger, probably pink colored envelope. And I think I've shared some of this stuff with you guys about that. Then this one on August 2nd, Unilect's going to send an official ballot voter instructions to Sudden Valley. Michael, and I'm not quite sure what that one is, to be honest with you.
What date are you on, Rob?
I'm on 8. I don't know if you can see my cursor. I'm on 8/2.
I'm
I'm asking you guys because I don't recall Unilect sending an official instructions to us. We sent them to them.
Am I looking at the same thing you're looking at?
Are you seeing that? It's like,
I'm looking at something that looks like it might be 8. Okay, 8/2, board meeting, approve envelopes and voter instructions, finalize budget. And then the next one is Violet, NNE send final envelope and voter instructions to Unilect.
well, are you looking? I sent you guys an email that has this scan on it. It's a PDF file called Key Dates or something.
Well, whatever
You
you
see, if you look on the screen, I think I'm sharing. Can you guys see this? What I'm sharing on the screen?
I see it, yeah.
So on 8/2, there's this task of it starts with Unilect is going to send envelope art to Sun Valley for approval. Okay, so that's that artwork that would go on the envelope, and then there's this Unilect sends the official ballot voter instructions to Southern Valley.
I think that's backwards. I think it's the other way around. What you sent me, said all this at 6:15, Rob, is what I was able to pull up and look at separately from our meeting, because I don't know how to share it. And so this is a little bit different
Yeah, it is different because this is,
in the contract, right?
yeah, this is in the contract. I guess what I'm really trying to do tonight is to try to have a deeper awareness of the tasks that are coming up. I have the ballot instruction booklet in Word. There's some things in there that I'm going to recommend, and I know we're going to have more discussion about that, but there's some things in there I'd make it probably a little smaller. It's got our vision and mission statements in there. I don't know if that needs to be part. I'd like to see the ballot instruction be more concise. So there's an instruction, some specific instructions on the last page. We're going to need to make sure that what we've set up for the people that live outside of the United States and outside of Sun Valley, those instructions are clear and concise in that last page. I'm going to reach out to Keith this week and say, hey, Keith, why don't you start putting draft together of your letter from the president? I think what I'd like to see is, if whatever work we can do on that ballot booklet, that be done sooner than later if we can. So it's whatever we can do now that we're starting to work on it and it's done. What do you guys think about that?
Well, I guess I would suggest that, I know it becomes a problem in terms of the quorum and et cetera. Wouldn't it be helpful to have a small work group that did this as opposed to, I mean, if we don't work together,
Yep.
then everyone's working in the dark, right? They don't know what other people are suggesting. And yet if we have a work group of more than 2 people, then we have a quorum and then we're in another universe of problems. So I don't know, a work group of maybe 2 people to be doing this or something like that. I mean, Michael, you're always concerned about, doing it correctly. So do you have any thoughts?
You know, as long as I've been on this committee, I have never been involved in any of this. It was always the chair and the GM or the board or staff. I have no idea what goes on any of this.
Mhm.
Who did it, who put it all together. I know some of it was presented at different entity board meeting. Well, my year with Nancy was very difficult. I didn't get hardly any information, and so I was kind of third or fourth out with Linda and Nancy ran it that one year, and then Nancy ran the whole thing the year after that. And last year, Gail, you were chair, and I didn't see any involved in a lot of this. I mean, we discussed that it was going on and the dates that different parties had to get their stuff in, like the budget and all that. And basically, the way I understood it, a lot of it was just taking last year's ballot and clipping that over there, maybe rewording the dates and things a little bit and dropping it in the hole. It's right there already done.
Yep.
And so there wasn't a lot to it. So it didn't really involve many hands. I think staff and the GM and staff and the chair handled most of that and the approval of it. And
Yep.
Well, I would think the same thing could be done this year because, if the committee would like this, if it would meet our needs, I could work with Rob on just a review of last year's ballot and our instruction booklet and so on, and see what needs to be updated. And if anything, there would be even remotely controversial, because despite the bumps in the road last year, which everyone I think is pretty aware of, nonetheless, the GM did a lot of work and our process was ultimately, no one challenged it and no one has to this day
yeah.
made a serious change that anything irregular or untoward happened. So Rob, if you wanted that, or if the committee, I mean, I know Karen, you're on finance, so you have a lot on your plate, and Michael always has a lot on his plate. Piles of hot dogs and sauerkraut. No, I've got to tease you a little bit, Michael. But, I'm just thinking we could have a larger work group, but then we have a quorum, or a committee of 5, we can only have a little work group of 2. If we want to go.
Well, I mean, some of it, if there's a couple people are doing some editing and it gets before this committee and everybody who wants to watch on YouTube or whatever, they can see the product.
Yeah.
It's just it's just an editing process. I think you guys know me pretty well by now. I thrive on collaboration but I want to be respectful of people's time.
I don't see a problem. I don't see a problem with having a little subcommittee in committee. It wouldn't, you're not meeting, you're just trading emails back and forth of or with the other parties that are involved, like budget and long range and
Yeah.
have to go into this. So if you know, if you guys want to do it, I'm fine with that, because I am like really, really busy.
I hear you, Michael. And, I could use the help. So for example, when it comes time to snapping in the budget data, that's probably going to be pulling hopefully I'm going to be using the right term, but say pulling an image from Excel and placing it into Word and formatting it so that it doesn't explode over the top of the margins and whatnot. That's
So does staff not do that part? I guess I sort of assumed we kind of collaborate on, you know, the entity chair and, you know, let's say the subcommittee for these purposes. Kind of collaborate on general layout, which is presumably the same that it's been the last several years. But I guess being the treasurer through an election before, it was Linda and Joel working together, and I guess I assumed he was kind of dropping that stuff in
I
there.
don't think so. I think
Mhm.
what I gathered from talking to Linda was she did a lot of groundwork on those kinds of things.
Okay.
Editing the document and whatnot. She got help from committee members. So there was some collaboration there, but she did a lot of footwork. And she worked very closely with the HR person who was her staff person, did a lot of, and so I don't know all that.
Yeah.
But,
I was always under the impression that, I know Rachel did a lot of stuff for us too during when she was there, but I was always under the impression that Sudden Valley's role, no matter who it was, whether it was budget, general manager, the board, whatever, and putting all this together, put it into a layout, and then Unilec formatted it and put it all together in the booklet, and then sent us the booklet for approval. That's been always my kind of understanding.
no, yeah. And I think what we're trying to do is ensure that this year that the booklet prints very succinctly. That's one of the reasons why we
Well, if
asked.
it's being printed locally, we'll have a lot more control
Yeah.
over it.
Yeah.
So
Well,
The printer's the ultimate one that's going to have to make all this fit in X amount of pages.
I think that's more on Sudden Valley to make sure that, yeah,
Okay.
I think it's on Sudden Valley to give them a booklet that, oh gosh, what I'm not an editor that, so a book like a booklet that doesn't have an Excel snap table on it that doesn't fit within the margins within Word, and then it can be converted into a PDF.
yeah, I think we want to present it to them as we want it to be viewed, but then they will probably take it and alter it into different file types. But I think if you and Gail work together primarily on some of the stuff, obviously consult with us if you're like, this is a substantive change versus just getting stuff in there. I know Linda did work closely with Joel before to get the data that she needed. I'm happy to help pop stuff in, you know, and ultimately the board and staff, I think, would need to make sure that all the tables that we put in are correct and there's no, you know, things kind of just happen and sending off. But primarily, I just want to make sure, I think, Rob, that you are in close contact with Unilect so that we're closing that communication loop and it's not.
We are,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think if we have that, I'm less concerned about something falling through the cracks because, you know, I think ultimately we know how we want it to look at the end and, you know, we'll make sure that we get all of the pieces there. And this is our primary focus versus, you know, a GM or other staff person that is being pulled in a lot of different ways during the election, you know.
Oh,
they're not
yeah.
on
Oh,
the ballot.
yeah. She's, Jan's really busy and we have an agreement that if like if there was some major thing that we're concerned about that we need to talk to you, like we would do a telecon together, and that's fine. That works good.
Mhm.
We and if she had some major thing that she was concerned about, that she would set up where I would be on that telecon. We just been flying really tight together this year. It's not been a thing where you know, oh, you can't call them unless, I mean, it's been very collaborative. Uh, uh, so I think when we start getting down to, we've sent them the ballot, we've sent them the instructions, and now we're proofing it. What I see is that's going to be Sun Valley staff and the N&E committee
Mhm.
looking at, eyes on it together, going, you know, has everybody got a thumbs up? Are we good to go? Yes,
Mhm.
we're good to go. Uh,
And then the board ultimately approves the final
exactly.
copy after, we've all given it our thumbs up.
Yeah, and what Joanna said to me, just so I want you guys to hear this too, is that she has said to me, "Oh, well, you guys recommend, you guys approve, then the board, I get my eyes on it because I report to the board. Yeah, that looks good. I don't have any suggestions. Yeah, everybody's on the same page. Then we send it to the board. Board approves it, and then off we go. So." Does that sound right to you guys?
Mhm. Yeah.
Okay.
I have a couple of things I just wanted to interject quickly. First, because we'll have a local printer, when it comes to proofing, because that's kind of where things fell apart last year, we had electronic copies. Well, the thing is, electronic copies can be, made bigger, made smaller, this and that. You can't, once you say, oh, it looks great, you can't still know what the actual physical copy looks like.
Right.
Have an actual physical copy. So the thing about the font being like 6 point, and et cetera, that was one, and some extraneous information from an earlier election year that got into the back, stuff like that. But I have one other idea about, Rob, since you're concerned, what we were talking about, snapping in the budget and that kind of thing. Perhaps if you and I, with the committee's, approval, form this little tiny work group, we could reach out to the member of N&E who also serves on finance to assist with that one little part, or that we have the correct budget, and that would be
Good.
helpful to us. That would be helpful. That's all.
Mhm. Yeah.
And plus,
is-
I know with that individual's incredible dedication to perfection.
who
Oh, I
is
don't know about that.
who has a really good eye for detail and has probably worked in Excel a lot more than the Sarah.
I've
But-
done a fair share of budgets, that's for sure.
Yes, you
I think,
are.
I think we can do it. I think we can do it. And the fail safe for me is we're going to have a hard copy, a real copy, a printed copy to look at.
Yeah,
Yes, we are going to. And I just want you guys to know that I feel like one of things, my role is as we're going down this, is when we need things from other from other people, is how you doing on that? How's it going? Are we going to get that? So for example, on the budget calendar, June 7th, the reserve study, 2024 reserve studies draft is supposed to be done. I'm assuming it is because it's a task on here. I sent a note out asking whether that was complete, and I'm hoping to get a response, but that's I think that's part of my role, is how are we doing with that? Is that done?
yeah.
Yeah, I
Totally
think so.
important.
Yeah,
I remember Linda keeping us on track when she was the N&E chair and I was on the board and,
oh, yeah.
responsible for the budget, and she let me know if we got off track. So yeah, I think that
Linda,
is.
Can you send me this calendar you have on the screen here? I don't have this. I just went and looked through my emails and I don't see this.
okay, I will resend it.
Okay. The upper
it
one
may
that
have
you
got-
had first was, I couldn't make head or tails out of that. That needs fixed. I agree.
It is an absolute eye chart and,
Do
Yeah,
you
that's-
have the Excel? I bet you I could fix it. Send it, if you can send it to me, I will fix it.
yeah,
I think what this is it was part of a board packet, and I think it's
Mm.
a page in Word.
Oh, word. That's the problem. No, 'cause if this was Excel, I mean, you probably could do it in Word too, but it's just that column with the dates is just too narrow, and so the text is wrapping and it's
Yep.
moving below and it's just kind of throwing
and
everything.
every time it goes down one, it moves the other one down one, so
Yeah.
they're off
Yeah.
5 and 6 and 7
Mhm.
by the time you get down some.
I
Yeah,
looked at that and thought maybe is something happened in the scan or in the.
Mm.
No, it was in the way
Yeah.
it was laid out.
Well, then let's blame our treasurer.
Well, I mean,
Right.
that is one of those things that Gail was talking about, that electronic copy. So if it's on one person's computer or whatever, you know, your monitor, your whatever, or when you kind of send electronic documents around, that kind of formatting can be lost. And so it could have looked perfectly fine
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
on that screen,
Yeah.
and then
yeah.
you send it to someone else and it compresses that a little bit, or they're trying to get it to fit to one page or for printing or whatever. It'll reformat this stuff, and that just needs to be,
yeah,
I just
Yeah,
want
I'm
to do
teasing.
it.
Yeah, I'm teasing. I just really, cause it's almost July. I'm setting the table because July, the July 5th,
that's their
candidates are
kickoff.
open. Pardon me?
That's our kickoff.
That's our
Mhm.
kickoff and then there's tasks that we're responsible for, and I think we're ready for kickoff. So I will send this. It's just kind of something to keep in your files. Going forward, I'm happy to do the views articles. We have agreed that we would send a letter to the people living outside of the US on instructions on how they need to get their ballots in soon than later. The
Mhm.
the date constraints. I really think we should have a candidate forum in September, because I'm gonna go up here, I'm gonna scroll. Near the end of September, the Canadian ballots get mailed on the 23rd of September. The US ballots get mailed on the 25th. I think that somewhere in this, somewhere between the 15th and the 20th, there should be a Zoom candidate forum so that people living outside of Sudden Valley can view the candidates and make some decisions, because they really got to get their ballots turned back.
Mhm. So you're thinking a mid-September and then an October one, maybe early October?
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, okay.
It was also suggested that, and I thought this was a good suggestion, that maybe we would have just a meet and greet. NNE would sponsor a meet and greet at the dance barn. Sun Valley is willing to provide, some very light refreshments, maybe some
Mhm.
water, some coffee, tea, and cookies, and just give people an opportunity to talk to candidates. Their kids could come. They could, it was just, the thought was that, yeah, it's been in a restaurant and it's kind of close to a bar, and maybe some people would rather not be in the restaurant. Candidates are still open to have meet and greets wherever they want, as many as they want. But what do you guys think about us sponsoring a meet and greet at the dance barn?
well, would this be a third event, or would it replace one of the forums?
It would be a third event.
Well, I think we should add that to our next meeting topic of
Okay.
working out forum dates, live or on Zoom, and can we do meet and greets?
Yeah. I'll leave you with this so you can think about it. I think the meet and greet would be more of a, let's just say it starts at 7 o'clock and they come in, and then maybe I would, but everyone, thank you for coming to the meet and greet. It's an opportunity for you to meet these candidates. I would introduce them. They can raise their hand and say, you know what, enjoy the evening. There's refreshments, and I encourage you to have some great conversation. Gets to be 8 o'clock or 8:30. Everyone, thanks for coming. I hope you've enjoyed this. It would be very, very just open for people to talk. It wouldn't be, here's a question you can go ask people.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my
I
thought.
like that. People to get a chance to ask their own personal questions. And I kind of like the idea of having that. We can talk about it next time, but a little bit earlier on, because I think sometimes it can be intimidating for the candidates to be up in front suddenly asking questions. But if they have a little bit of time to chat with
Yeah.
community members
Absolutely.
before they get an idea of where people are thinking and what kind of questions are going to be asked. So yeah, I like that idea to consider further next meeting.
Well, let's put that on there. Guys, what I would like to suggest, and I think I'm at this point. Let's see here. Yeah, new businesses discuss meeting frequencies. I would like to suggest that that we go ahead and start to meet twice a month. And if we don't need the meeting, then we would give plenty of time to cancel it. But I think that I would feel more comfortable if we were meeting more than once a month going into the AGM. How are your schedules?
I think we're good all the way till September, and then we can start meeting twice a month. I don't think we need to meet July and August for
Okay.
twice a month. We really have nothing to do until September when I mean, we do have stuff to do. There's getting all the printed material together and gathered all that. But as a whole group, we can oversee all that, in my opinion, in once a month meetings, and then in September pick it up more.
Okay.
Well, I'll speak to the other side of that, though. Rob, knowing that I kind of did, had these hearings last year, I think twice a month. I mean, first of all, we have a quorum if only 3 people show up, so that is good. But I think, and then if we, because I don't know if we need a motion as a group or whatever, if we form this little work subgroup. I think, in other words, we would have one meeting in July and one in August, and then the whole fall thing is facing us, right? And I'm concerned about that, because if we meet twice a month, like mid-month and the last day, right? The second Monday and the last Monday kind of thing. Number one, people who are doing other things, like Michael, I know you're really busy in the summer. You just asked to be excused. And it just means that we have a chance to touch base and that we're all working together. And I'm supportive of the request, and I'm supportive of making myself as available as possible. I might, of course, because I'm dealing with pretty unpredictable health issues right now, I might prefer Zoom to just making a commitment to be anywhere in person. That would be my thought. And in other words, Michael, I know that summer's super busy for you, but if you could make it, or you could Zoom in, great. Or if we had a specific question of you, we could just, Rob or somebody, whoever had the question, could just email you. Or if you have concerns, you can let us know. Just a thought.
Yeah.
I'm gonna throw out the compromise to that is say, I would be okay with 2 meetings. I mean, I would be okay with 2 meetings a month, but maybe we make a commitment to ourselves to be really concise in our agendas and stay on point and make them quick. And this is the business, and this is on me a lot because I like to throw out stuff to get us off track. But yeah, if we just agree to be very concise and what's the task, who's doing it,
Okay, I agree with the majority then, twice a month, and we just stay focused.
And so we do like the second Monday and then the last Monday.
Sure.
So in July,
Yeah.
second Monday is July 8th. And then the last Monday, then we go, wow, the last Monday is the 29th. So the
Yep.
middle of July is the 15th. I don't know. The mid-July then is July 15th, Monday the 15th. And then the last is July 29th. And then in August, we would have August 12th and 26th. Do people want to pin those down?
So you're saying July 8th and July 29th?
Well, I'm thinking maybe July 15 and July 29 to give us a chance to have the materials.
Yeah, I think that's good. Yeah.
Uh,
All right,
and then August 12th and August 26th.
Yeah.
all right.
Let's do that. And then we'll look at where we're at in September. Okay, and I will definitely put on the agenda discussion about candidate forum meet and greet.
Mhm.
All right. Is there anything else for the good of the order? Hearing none,
You'll entertain a motion to
I would
adjourn.
entertain a motion.
I move to adjourn.
All right.
We're adjourned at 7:54. Thank you guys. Thank you guys
Thank
for
you.
taking the part of your evening, and see you soon.
Well, you're
Yeah.
here though, Rob, you always let us out by 8, you know, because Alan and I eat dinner late, and so the question of, I said, Alan, Rob always concludes. Comment on it.
Yeah,
There was something he's supposed to be doing to get us ready so that we can sit down at 8, but we'll see. I'll have to go to the kitchen and see what's going on.
And then I'm gonna go get one of these brownies. I'll save one for
Oh.
you guys. Talk to you
Thank-
soon, guys.
yeah, thanks for keeping us on track, Rob. I appreciate all you're doing behind the scenes.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
Okay, Rob, I will send you the, I guess we're gone. Are we gone?
no, we're not gone.
We're still here.
I lost everybody somewhere here. Oh, there you are. I'll send you the minutes from last meeting with the draft removed from it.
Okay,
Okay,
And
Alright.
then you can get them off to the powers that be in the office. to
thank
get
you, Michael.
posted.
Thank
Alright.
you.
Thanks,
Bye.
guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Night.
so quickly, Karen, before you vanish, I
Yeah.
found a little card and it's in the mail.
Oh, good.